morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Spiritual Journey with your Coach Renz. We're being simulcast both on Facebook and YouTube. Facebook is a private group. YouTube, you're on my YouTube live at Lorenzo Reed. It's my YouTube channel that this broadcast is going to be on. It's been a couple of weeks. A lot of things been going on. So we haven't necessarily been able to do this. Oh, I got something still playing. Hold on, let me get rid of this. So, had a lot going on, so we missed a couple of weeks. That's no excuse for missing a couple of weeks. I apologize for that. But we will soldier on. We'll continue on. I'm giving people a little bit of time to connect here. As you connect, go ahead and let me know who you are and where you are. Both on YouTube as well as on Facebook. Let us know where you are and who you are. My name is Lorenzo Reed, Coach Renz for short. And I own, what you see in the background is Uncle Renz Popcorn, just the equipment that it takes to make everything, as well as One Act Consulting, which is my consulting firm where we coach in leadership, spirituality. We also coach in relationships and building wealth and that sort of thing. Good morning, Vicky. How you doing? Like I said, it's been a long couple of weeks, but we're moving forward. We're getting things organized, getting things going. Hey, Riri, how we doing? It's good to see people logging in. Good morning, greetings, grand rising. Today we're going to talk about how do we overcome religious intolerance. How do we overcome religious intolerance? Now, for those who have been following me, who know me, if you find me for the first time on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. There's another channel that's all for financial and relationship, but that's my Coach Renz channel. You can find a link to that one on my channel page for Lorenzo Reed. But on this particular channel, we talk about hermetics, we talk about alchemy, mysticism, we talk about spirituality, we talk about just having divine consciousness and moving forward to elevate our mindset, elevate our consciousness, become greater, become the greater beings that we really are. And one of the hindrances of those have been religious intolerance. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you know that I am very historical in the information that I provide you. To me, you're reading stuff, you're trying to understand things in your current culture, your current point in space-time, but yet in order to truly understand something, you have to go back to the time frame it was written, back to the space-time that it was written, and then gain that understanding from that point of view, that perspective, and then we move forward. So today, in this 1 hour or less or more, we're going to definitely start with the cultural and religious mindset of the people of various time frames to get to the point where we understand why the intolerance is there, and then what we need to do to remove that intolerance. All right. So when we view this, we definitely have to start back in history. Now we can start. Good morning, Dark Knowledge. We can more. We can start at many different time frames and cultures, but since our world and the majority of people listening to this, history and knowledge has been dominated by Eastern and Western cultures of the Northern Hemisphere, we're going to start there. We're going to start with that side of the world. We're going to not the Americas, not the Southern Hemisphere. We're going to start with the Northern Hemisphere. We're going to primarily focus on them because what has happened in those areas and those cultures is what has defined most of the world today, and that is what's going to allow us to be able to understand why we're in this situation of religious intolerance and what it has caused and how do we overcome it from the point that we're in now by looking back. So that's about all the introduction I'm going to do. I got my coffee. Normally this show is going to start at 10:30 every Sunday. Today was a little bit later because my transportation was a little bit late, but we should be alleviating that situation really soon anyway. So anyway, here we go. Before I get started in there, I want you to have a mindset already in place. In Zen Buddhism, there was the thought of being absent of the mind. That to be present, you have to be absent of the mind. That many people take that as the idea Jacksonville, Florida. Take that, San Antonio. I want to go to San Antonio. Sorry, I get thrown off by things, so y'all forgive me for that. But in Zen Buddhism, many people think that you're supposed to meditate and be absent of everything around you, eliminate everything around you. But in truth, that's not what the higher understanding of Zen Buddhism talks about when it says be absent of the mind. And if you're absent of the mind, you're present. Now in Christianity, they tell you that to be absent of the body is to be present with the Lord. Right? So absent of the body. Over the last few weeks, my back has been hurting. Like I hurt my back. Good morning, Shondell. I hurt my back. Hurting my back made me aware of my back. Made me aware of my body. And my focus then became my body. My focus became the pain. It became that one area of my body, my back. So I was aware. My awareness was brought to a small portion. It was shrunken. Let me explain why they're right. In order to see the patterns of the universe, the Creator had to become invisible. In the Hermetics, the all is the all. According to the Immortalists, the all is everything. The all, everything came into existence based on the thought of the all. Since everything came into existence based on the thought of the all is within everything. The all in all. But if you were able to see the all, it would encompass everything within your vision, and you wouldn't see anything. You would see nothing. It would be equal to if somebody was able to press all the keys on a keyboard, and you would just hear all the vibration, all the tones, and there would be no harmony. It would just be all. This is why every religion, almost every religion, says that in the beginning there was chaos, or there was a nothingness, there was disorder, there was chaos. Because when you press all the keys, the sound is chaos. The sound is very chaotic. Now, give you something we can look at today, a black hole. They used to think that a black hole was without light and was without substance. But everything in the universe has light. Everything in the universe has substance. Space is not empty. Space has matter, has material, has energy, has vibration. So the black hole was once believed to have no light. But in truth, the black hole has encompassed so much light, it encompassed all the light and all the colors, that it's chaotic to the point where you can't see any of the light nor any of the colors. So when all the books, the teachings, the lessons, the inscription on the wall said, out of the darkness came the light, out of chaos came order, out of that, when the chaos, the darkness had to create individual patterns in order for you to see the individual colors, to see the individual light. When I say that we are all one, we are all one of one substance. I forgot the word. Homostasis, I believe is the word. But we're all one. We're all one. But in order to see me closer to the understanding of the all, man had that same mindset, and we had religious tolerance. Not to start from the very, very, very beginning. But when you look at the Sumerian texts and the Sumerian gods, goddess, demigods, whatever, when you look at the Norse, when you look at the Greeks, the Romans, the Hindu, when you look at all of these, the Egyptians, they all have similar gods who exhibit similar traits. They all have similar stories. I know many will jump right on there and said that the Western culture of Europe plagiarized this and plagiarized that. We'll get to that point. But before we get into a plagiarizing, in most cases, people didn't plagiarize. There's a term from the Greeks called Hellenization. When the Greeks came into a land and conquered a land, they conquered not for religious war, but they conquered because of land and conquest and whatnot. But when they got there, they merged their God. They found an equal God to their God, and then they just merged the two. They didn't take away your God, they just merged the two. So when people talk about Serapis, yes, it's the merging of multiple gods into one. It's the merging. It's so that the people, If I'm communicating with you, we all understand the story. We all understand the what we're talking about. It's a form of communication. It's a form of spiritual communication. So the Sumerians had Enki and Enlil and Marduk and Ninharsag and these different people, and they converted their names into Nut. You know, you had King An, and Titi, and that converted into Nut and Jeb, and then Marduk changed things. That's why in Egypt you can find different variations of the same gods or the similar story. There are multiple origin stories because Marduk changed them. But even in Marduk being the son of Enki, you know, Enki being a cohort son of King Anu. So, but these were converted into Ra and Amun-Ra and Osiris and Isis. So they had similarities. So the stories were similar. So the Sumerian can talk to the Egyptian, and they can talk on a spiritual level because they understand the similarities of it. When we look at the Epic of Gilgamesh and we read the Atrahasis, we can see Noah, as well as the name falls out of my head of what his name is in the Sumerian story, but they both have the same flood story. They both have the build the boat story. They both have the collecting, the one says collect the seed of every animal, the other says collect every animal, but they have the similar story. And due to that similarity, the Sumerian can talk to the Hebrew. So as the Hebrew left Babylon and knowing that story, they are able to communicate with the Babylonians on a spiritual level because of the similarity in the story that was co-opted for their own culture. These stories had to be told based on a person's own culture and their own experience. So they had religious tolerance. They tolerated each other. The Greeks tolerated whomever they conquered. The Egyptians tolerated whoever they conquered. People didn't conquer out of religious wars, as we will see a little bit later. They conquered out of resources, land, disagreements on political issues or cultural issues. It wasn't out of religious wars. So they were more respectful of each other's culture. When you conquered a land, you didn't take away a person's religion. You merged their religion with your religion, or you just let them have their religion. You would even say to them, we're going to pray to our gods and you pray to your gods that we have a great harvest this season. And I ain't gonna say nobody, but for the most part, people didn't fight one another over, well, my God is stronger than your God. That came later. That came later, much, much later. We see a growth in religious intolerance. We see a growth in religious intolerance as we get into around 1500 BCE to 500 BCE, we start seeing a religious intolerance. As Shondell is saying, we start seeing a supremacy start to take place as we get into more around 1500 to 500 BCE. Somewhere within that realm is when it starts happening, because the first instance of it starting to happen is people coming out of being conquered from another group. As the Hebrews came out of being conquered and being enslaved by the Babylonians, well, they weren't enslaved, but they were just conquered, and they were treated as second-class citizens, according to their story, by the Babylonians. They co-opted the Babylonian story. They added the Babylonian story to theirs, and then they insisted that God was punishing them, and that's why they went into Babylonian captivity. They insisted that the reason they came out of it because a great person started to really connect with Yahweh, Jehovah, whichever name they used at the time, and that's why they were able to come out of Babylonian captivity. And as Assyrians and Hittites and others came into play, it was always God punishing, God delivering, based on the group created the punishment, but an individual brought them out of the punishment. So that motif begins to set in the minds of man, of people who, and you have to understand, in that area where the different, in that Mesopotamian area, this little area, even to this day, is still highly fought over. This was the trade hub between the Eastern world, the Western world, and the Southern world. So Northern Africa traded with Europe and Asia in Mesopotamia. Europe traded with Asia and Southern and Africa in Mesopotamia. It was a trading hub. Whoever controlled that. Now, also, if you want to fight a war, this is your supply line hub. So these people were constantly conquered. There was constantly war going on in this area. Megiddo, which is the name of Armageddon, is a city that's in a incredible focal point for moving trade. This is why Megiddo is called Armageddon, because it is the most fought over. In ancient times, this was the most fought over place in the world. Good morning, Alex. This was the most fought over place. Good morning, Stacy. So, that being said, they were always believing and thinking that God is punishing them because they were always being fought, warred over, and conquered in that area. Religious intolerance started to creep its head in as the Greeks were over the Egyptians and the Mesopotamia through India, because even in India, they had Krishna, and Krishna was relatable to all the gods of the Western world. So they related everything. But so that made it easier for when the Greeks came into Kashmir, came into India, they were able to translate. Okay, we understand. Alex, are you still buffering? Vicky, are you buffering? All right. Well, we know that the Wi-Fi is not doing any good. There are 11 things attached to the Wi-Fi, so it is horrible. It's slower. It's a little bit slower. All right, so we're gonna just go ahead and continue. I don't want to put too much of a break in here. I'm starting right back at 21:47 for those on YouTube who skipped back forward and want to come back. So where I was saying was that Romans had this one thing. They had this one idea, and that one idea was that you had to give tribute, worship to Caesar, and just recognize him as an additional god to your God. That's all. These people, they were very polytheistic, and they just wanted you to worship Caesar as one of their gods, as one of your gods. Just give respect to Caesar. Now, because of this, the Roman Empire experienced the Hebrew by this time frame. By this time frame, you have the Judea, you have the Hebrews, the Israelites, and we're talking like 300, well, not 300, around, 300, 200 BCE. So you have these people. The Hebrews refused to do that because in their writings, there are two things in their writings. One, you must not have any graven images of anything, any animal here on earth or in heaven. No graven images. And because of no graven images, you can't put a statue of Caesar in your synagogue. Right? All these pictures of Jesus, you're not supposed to have those, according to the Old Testament. They also had that there is only one God, Yahweh, Jehovah, El Shaddai, whatever you want to call it, El. Now we can go into the Sumerian. We talked about that, who that is, according to the Sumerian text, which is why the Sumerians didn't have a problem with the Hebrew, because the Sumerians would have. The ancient Sumerians, which were the Sumerians, would have had a problem with the Hebrew, but the Sumerians had fallen in with the Hebrews and believed that Jacob was their father, and so through Jacob they had access to El. So El and Yahweh, the Sumerians were fine with that. But the Romans had a problem. The Romans didn't like that. And the Romans tried to force the Judeans, the Israelites, to have a statue. And this is when the first religious intolerance really goes at a large scale, where government and larger organizations are at hand. Now, did people have discussions on their own individually, houses, talking? But, so is the buffering good now, Pop? Papa? So, now we got the Romans are trying to force the Israelites to put a statue of Caesar. Nero was horrible at this. Nero was so forceful at this because Nero was like a horrible leader. He had horrible leadership. So when Nero was trying to force the Judeans to have this image of Caesar, an image of himself in their synagogues, this is where religious intolerance got really big. And you started seeing all these Judean revolts. They started having revolts, and it was pissing off the Roman Senate, and there were Jewish revolts all over the place. So Nero brought in Vespasian. Now we're not going to go deep into that one because I made videos about that one. We can go straight to that one over. But Vespasian realized that the way to conquer the Hebrews was through the storyline that they taught, and that was to make himself as the coming Messiah. So Vespasian made himself as the coming Messiah, then made his son Titus as the Son of God. So by doing that, Vespasian was able to shut down the Hebrew results, the Jewish revolts to a certain degree, as well as he burned all their writings except for the one that he kept, and then had Josephus do some rewriting. Now, but we're sticking with religious intolerance here. Now, through this time frame, we see the advent of Christianity grows, and through Christianity and Judaism, there's still issues in the Roman Empire. They're small, but they're widespread, and they're growing. And because of their growth, the Roman Empire starts showing a religious intolerance. Now, whereas the Roman Empire previously showed tolerance towards other religions, if they conquered you and you was in Egypt, they didn't have a problem with Osiris and Ra and all these people. They equated Ra with Jupiter Maximus. So they were fine with you having Ra, because they said they were the same. They were similar enough we can talk. But they had a problem with the Hebrew and a problem with the Christians, because they were saying there is only one God and all other gods are false gods. The Christians at that point didn't have respect for the other gods, and so the Romans had a problem with them because the Romans weren't being respected. And so when somebody would be pissed off, something would go on, arguments began to get to the point between Jews, Christians, and Romans, which depending upon where they were. If you was in Greece and you were Roman and you was talking about Zeus and Hercules and all that, and even though they was like look, we got Zeus, that's the father, you know, you got Zeus, and then you got Hercules. Y'all got the same story. Y'all got Jehovah who came in and had a, you know, Zeus had a baby with a human woman. They had Hercules. Your God can had a baby, and that was Jesus. They both rose up. So the Greeks were like, why you mad? And the Christians were like, nah, you wrong. You know, they argue. These arguments began to come to the point where cities and towns were having fights, like on larger scales. People were starting to be killed and murdered over these religious differences. So the Roman Empire initially wanted to stamp out Christianity by getting rid of it. And I forgot the emperor. It just fell out my head as to which emperor it was before Constantine. It's like one emperor before Constantine tried to get rid of Christianity. Yes, some people were tortured, but for the most part, he tried to get their story, get the books, and destroy all the writings, because there was too much fighting. Roman emperors only cared about keeping the empire intact. It was not about them trying to destroy people. It's about keeping the empire intact. But with the Hebrews, got two factions from the same root who are now fighting and causing disturbances within the Roman Empire, but the empire is stronger, so they are winning. They're killing or they're heavily suppressing the Christians and the Jews. So this is what starts religious intolerance, is the fact that one group couldn't respect the other. Before, all groups respected each other. Now, as we move forward into Constantine, and the worst thing is going to happen next, we move forward into Constantine, and what Constantine does is, first he tries to just say, hey, we're going to make Christianity legal. It's good to go. Constantine was still in the mindset of equating, we can have spiritual conversation by equating, because when he was in Milan and they had a council of Christian bishops come to Milan, so they did the edict or the declaration of Milan to get people to understand that we're going to make Christian, you know, you're going to give tolerance to the Christians. You know, Roman governors stop. We're gonna show tolerance first, and hopefully by us showing tolerance to them, it will quell things down and all this fighting will stop. So he goes even further as telling the story of seeing a vision in the sky. Now, this story has been changed a lot. If you go to what Caesar of Eusebius of Caesarea wrote, which was his scribe, not the later changings of it 100 years later, he wrote that Constantine said that the vision he saw was Sol Invictus, the unconquerable sun. He saw his Roman deity of Sol Invictus. He didn't claim to see Jesus. That was later changed by the Catholic Church. He said he saw Sol Invictus and said that Sol Invictus is equal to Jesus. So he told the bishops that I'm just telling you what I saw and what you believe in. They're equal. They're similar. Not the same, just similar. This is why Constantine remained, he continued to worship Apollo, Sol Invictus, Mithra throughout his entire life. And he was baptized. He was dead when he was baptized. So just get that point out there. But the thing about it is he showed intolerance and hoped that the intolerance would be returned. But what happened was the Council of Nicaea. Now, a few weeks ago, we did a video here on this called What Really Happened at the Council of Nicaea. And you can go back and watch that one to get more detail of it. But one of the things that happened at the Council of Nicaea that destroyed religious tolerance, that took religious intolerance to the level of millions of people being murdered, was the idea of heresy and heretics. Most of you, if you saw that video, you know that the main argument was between Arius and Alexander of Alexandria. Arius said that Jesus was a created being. Alexander said that they were all the same. That argument is what brought the Council of Nicaea together. But since Arius lost, he was exiled. First he was beaten into signing, then he was exiled. He was declared a heretic. Now, but before that, all 1,800 bishops were supposedly invited. Only 318 showed up because the remaining bishops were all Gnostics. The Gnostic bishops were pretty much told, your point of view is already declared heresy. Your point of view is you're a heretic. So regardless of you coming, you will not be part of the solution here. You are part of the problem. So heresy was well established in the mind of those who were following a orthodox version of Christianity, those who Constantine sided with as a way of introducing it as a legal form of religion in the Roman government and to ask people to stop and have this Roman governor stop persecuting them. They had a mindset of intolerance. Once they won over at the Council of Nicaea, they began their reign of intolerance. This reign of intolerance really picked up steam around 492 with Emperor Theodosius. Emperor Theodosius, when he made Christianity the religion of Rome, also decreed that any other version of Christianity was heresy and could end in execution. He demanded that all other writings outside of what has currently been approved, the canon wasn't fully established yet, but all other writings were considered heresy. So I told you that Athanasius had been writing for 3095 plus 39 years, do the math. He had been writing the books that he thought should be canon. Those books were by 492 became pretty much popularized, not official canon yet, but they were the most popular. And Theodosius was like, if you don't agree with these books, any of the books, yes, some are debatable, but most, you will be murdered. Years later, a couple hundred years later, it was decreed that if you were caught in possession of any books that were considered scripture, if you had possession of them, because the lay reader was not supposed to read these books, you would be murdered. You could be murdered. It is this mindset of heresy that created the Inquisition. It is this mindset of heresy and heretics that created the idea of the holy wars and crusades and actually fighting wars over religion. It is this mindset of heresy that gave birth to divine manifestation that happened in America that allowed for the Christian Europeans to sweep across America, murdering and killing anyone because they said you didn't believe in our religion. It is this idea of heresy that allowed for European colonists to go down into Africa and subjugate people, and then go into a slave trade, to go into India and take over and conquer and say we're the British Empire and we're great and we're taking over, and we are great because God said so, and because of our God said so. No respect to their God, no respect to Krishna, to Brahma, no respect to that. It is only ours because we have had a century of, well, centuries, almost an eon of saying that we are endowed by God to conquer you, to subjugate you, to have superiority over you. It was from this idea of the very beginning, no graven images, and the Romans trying to force graven images inside the synagogues, the Judeo-Claudians trying to force their image into the synagogue, that started this angst, started this intolerance. And over some hundreds of years, it became heresy, and that heresy backed by government. See, before, the heresy wasn't backed by government. But once the heresy got backed by government, after the Council of Nicaea, after Theodosius in 492, it became a murderous weapon. It became weaponized. And once it became weaponized, it has murdered millions of people, subjugated millions of people, and have thrown our world into a negative connotation. We function negatively now. Most things are negative. We view everything through race, through superiorities, through who's on top of who can dominate who. Those who have been oppressed now look to oppress the other group, just as those Christian bishops were oppressed. And then Constantine lifted some of the oppression, and then Theodosius really lifted and gave them power, and now they began to oppress everybody who thought like them a little bit, and everybody who didn't think like them completely. So how do we get back to it? How do we get to religious tolerance? How do we get rid of this religious intolerance? Well, the first thing is we need to understand the history of where it just came from. You need to get into a deeper understanding of the mindset of man and how man has utilized this as a weapon. And once you really know it as a weapon, then you may, at that point, go through your understanding of what you believe and start to say, okay, if God is energy, remember I told you at the very beginning that you have to see God as, or the creator, as everything. But in order to see what is within the mind of the all, everything has to, the all has to become invisible so that the individual patterns can now be seen. So the individual patterns of how the Romans saw the creator, how the Greeks saw the creator, how the sub-Saharan Africans saw the creator, how the Egyptians saw the creator, how the Indian people in India saw the creator, how the Mesoamericans saw the creator. The individual patterns of seeing the creator had to be established by the creator stepping out and not being seen. By only allowing its laws of nature to exist, and for man to be able to look at nature and discover the presence of an intelligent designer. But in discovering that presence of the intelligent designer, you see the divinity within. To see that divinity, you see your own divinity. To see how nature functions uncorrupt, you see how you can function uncorrupt. Many people become vegan because they don't want to eat meat. But for those who do eat meat, when you're not over consuming, when you're the Native Americans used to use every aspect of the buffalo, not because they respected the buffalo, and they realized that they had just taken a life, and by taking that life, they needed to utilize it as productively as possible to show respect for it. Many people I know who are hunters, they are respectful to the hunt. They don't just hunt for sport, not those who hunt for sport. The one who actually hunt for meat. They respect what the animal has done. The movie Avatar showed you that, when they had the respect for what the animal is giving to you to sustain life. Lion King, one of my favorite movies ever, Lion King, talked about the circle of life. The lion eats the water buffalo eats the grass. The lion will one day die and become the grass. It's the circle of life. But there's a respect, a balance there. As long as no distortions happen, the balance stays there. But when we look at ourselves, we have created so many distortions in our economy, and not our economy, in our environment, that we have poisoned the meat. We poison the fruits and vegetables. We poison everything. So everything has been poisoned because we've gotten out of balance with it. So we have to come back into balance so that we can know who we are. And when we come into balance, one of the first things about tolerance is to recognize that every being on this planet has the right to discover the Creator in whatever way they discover the Creator. If you discover the Creator by looking at a tree, and you become Wiccan, and you start looking at the energy of the tree, the spirit of the tree, that is your right to do so. Who am I to come to you and say that you are damned or condemned to hell simply because you don't? You don't believe in Jesus, you're going to hell. You don't follow Allah, you're going to hell. You don't follow Yahweh Jehovah, you're going to Sheol. If you don't follow the teachings of the Buddha, then you are destined to come back as a butterfly. And that is depending on the version of Buddhism that you're talking about. But it's all these judgmental labels that we place on other people for discovering the Creator in their own way that is causing all this intolerance, because we're so out of balance within ourselves. I've said to you guys many times before that I can stand on top of a mountain by my damn self, be the only one screaming out and saying what I think and how I discovered the Creator and how I discovered my own inner divinity, the God, Goddess inside. If you don't agree with me, it doesn't matter to me. Your agreement does not make my knowledge and belief more true to me. It doesn't make my connection with universal law, with the infinite intelligence, with the Creator. It doesn't make it stronger if you agree with me, nor does it weaken it if you don't. People go to church arguing. They come out of church. Today is Sunday, day of the sun, S-U-N. People will come out arguing, feeling all happy and joyful, but then they will come out and later on get into a discussion about it, and Monday be in a discussion about it, and then find argument and discontent. You just entered a distortion field. You should have went in there. You should have got your joy on. Like, so if any of you guys are going to church today, go in there, get your joy on, clap your hands. If the vibration of the music makes you feel closer to the Creator, great. If your belief in Yeshua makes you feel closer to the Creator, and that keeps you from murdering my kids, great. But when you come out of it and you enter a distortion field of your frequency, and that frequency causes you to get to the point of anger where you physically harm somebody, is that the love that your religion teaches? No, it's not. It's not the love that your religion is teaching. Your religion is teaching love. Allah teaches love. Yahweh teaches love. Jehovah teaches love. Krishna teaches love. They all teach love. But yet, that is not the thing that people focus on. So, we don't, because we're distorted. We got to come out of the distortion. We have to let go of the distortion. In the Emerald Tablets, Thoth was talking to the dweller. And the dweller said that if you want to understand how to use the power of the word, the power of vibration, and see, in understanding that is understanding the power of cause and effect. If you want to understand how to use that power, then you must bring order out of the chaos. I told you guys earlier, think about the black hole. The black hole is considered chaotic. Pressing all the keys of the piano is chaotic. Seeing only the Creator would be chaotic, because you wouldn't see any patterns of anything. Nothing would be in order. But in order to get a melody from the piano, certain keys had to be pressed together at a certain time, individualized, creating a pattern, creating a harmony. That harmony allows you then to see the Creator. The harmony of a tree and how the roots go into the ground, connect with other roots, communicate with other trees, take nutrients from the earth, with the rain coming down, watering the earth, with other plant life growing and decaying in the ground, refertilizing the earth, is a balance of harmony. It's Mozart Concerto. It's that really good song that comes on when you're dancing with your mate and you feel the good energy of it. It's all the melody. It had to step back, become invisible so the patterns can be seen, so the harmony can be seen, so that you can see the connections of everything. So when we look at our individual connections with the Creator, we can't look at someone else's version and downplay it, because their version is a puzzle piece to the entire puzzle. It's like when you meet people, you're different. You're all shaped different. You're shaped different. And you look at a puzzle, every piece of the puzzle is shaped differently. But those different shapes connect together to create the big picture. If all you had was your one little shape, then your one little shape is not the picture. You see a portion of it. But we think our one little portion is the end all be all. That is it. That is all the knowledge. It is 6 men, 6 blind men touching an elephant. Each one thinking that their piece that they're touching is the entire elephant, describes the elephant. But it is all the pieces coming together. But the problem is that we've added nicks and pieces and thorns and thistles to the puzzle pieces so that when we try to connect them, they just won't fit. Our minds won't allow that because we got into this mindset of intolerance. So we have to let go and realize that you only need you to believe in what you believe. Become whole in that. Become fulfilled in that. Get to the point where your confidence in what you believe is strong enough that you don't need agreement with anyone else. Now, once you do that, understand what your text is really talking about. Understand what the stories are really trying to tell you. Read between the lines. The Emerald Tablets tells you that in all wisdom, you have to read between the line. In all books, you have to read between the line. The Corpus Hermeticum tells you got to read between the line. The Zen masters never tell you the answer to any of your questions straight out. They tell you that you have to read between the line. You have to discover the esoteric understanding of it yourself. So if you're reading the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the Tao, whatever you're reading, whatever you study for wisdom, read between the lines so that you can understand the true story that it's trying to tell you. That true, and one of those true stories is love. We're all connected, and we have to love ourselves, and by loving ourselves, since we're all connected, we love each other. Now, by loving each other, we must have tolerance, for which I love my children. I love my children. I don't always like them, but I love them. I tolerate some of the things about them that don't flow in the way that I wish that it would for them, that I would hope that it would for them. When they do things outside of the advice that I've given them, considering the mistakes that I've made in my history that I'm trying to help them avoid, I have to let them make their mistakes, but then I don't hate them for it. I don't cast them aside for it. I still love them, and I love them through their process. Because my daughter, my oldest daughter, is going through a different process to get to understanding finances. My middle daughter process is different than hers. Just because my oldest girl has struggled more, my middle daughter, she's my youngest daughter, but my middle child, she will not struggle as much because she's heeding the advice, following the storyline of what I have been teaching them since they were small as far as finances, and she is not struggling at the same age that my oldest girl struggled at her same age. One listened, one didn't. The other one is now listening. But I love them both through the same process. But I have to let them go through the process to discover for themselves the same financial stewardship. We have to let people find the Creator on their own and love them through it. If somebody says that my morality of not murdering you, killing you, stealing from you, taking your land, taking your coveting your spouse, envying your property, if my morals of that comes from my understanding of the 42 confessions of Mayat, then who are you to say that no, you have no morals? Your morals should come from the 10 Commandments. And then even if I say that mine come from the 42 confessions of Mayat, I am in no position to come and run at you. Well, you plagiarized the 42 laws of Ma'at into your 10 commandments, so you're evil, plagiarizing. No, if you got it through the 10, but I'm using the 42, then hey man, we're on the same page. That's good, because we're both not murdering each other, not stealing from each other, not coveting each other's family or spouses. We're both not trying to conquer one another. We're both just in respect of one another. We just view it from a separate point of view. And because we do, we're still getting to the same place, to the same understanding. But we get so caught up on the distortions, the things that takes us out of frequency with one another, that you got to believe in Jesus. And then, yeah, there was no letter J, so why you even bothering with Jesus? That name was Isus, and then Ius, and then the Latins, the Greeks didn't have a sh and a w sound, so that's why they flipped it. And that story's made up, and Vespasian and Josephus and all. That's good knowledge to have. But when we let that knowledge causes us to say that the melanin in my skin makes me superior than you, we just lost everything that was valuable in the 42 confessions of Ma'at that we just talked about. We just lost everything about the Kabbalion and the law of mentalism, the law of gender, the law of rhythm. You want to vibrate to the higher conscious level? How can you do that if you still racist? How can you do that if you still sexist? You can't. How can you do that if you still a nationalist, thinking that your country is better than somebody else's country? You can't do that. Your vibration, your higher realm consciousness is not there. Sorry, I hate to be the one to tell you, it's not going to happen. Anytime you not Nietzsche, Kierkegaard. The moment you label me, you negate me. So the moment you do that, not only are you labeling them, you're labeling yourself. So you're negating yourself, and not in a good way. Not in a way that the Creator stepped back and allowed the patterns to be able to be seen. The black hole allows the light to be seen by stepping back and releasing the different patterns of light. When you step back from the body, now you can see all the patterns. But you don't step so far back that there are no patterns. You've narrowed it to only one pattern, to only one light. When you've narrowed it to one light, now you can't see it. Now you can't see all the other beauty. What did Bruce Lee? He showed it in one of his movies, where he was talking about, if you keep, when you point to the moon, if you keep your eye on the finger, then you miss all of the glories of the universe, all the glories of heaven. Les Brown said, if I shoot for the moon, at least I land amongst the stars. Realizing that if I can shoot for the moon may be my target, but at least I'll land up there and I'll see all that beauty. So we have to be able to see that. We have to be able to let people be people. Let people find the Creator on their own and respect it. Some people ask me, like, so I was married to my kid's mother for 17 years. We were together for 22 years. Right? Before I say that, this is perfect. Be Nice on YouTube. I don't know if it's perfect, but I just saw the first part, so I'm thinking it's perfect. He said, but Coach, my wife is still a Christian. We've been married for 20 years. Lately, we argue all the time now because she still thinks Jesus is coming back for her, and she's saying I'm a bust hell wide. Oh, that I'm a bust hell wide open. What can I do? All right, so that is actually kind of perfect. Be Nice, which I'm thinking your name. Wait a minute, you said I'm still a Christian. My wife. All right, D Nice. So, D Nice. Me and my kid's mother, we were married for 17 years. We were together for 22 years. We started as high school sweethearts. I was in my pathway of coming out of Christianity through that entire time. I was pretty much done with it before we actually got married. We were married, and I would do my research and I would read things. Now, I respected her religion. I would still go with her, right? His friends call him Derek. I was going to say Dennis, but I respected her belief. I actually participated in some of the functions that they were doing. I realized that they didn't have a teen ministry, and they didn't have and a lot of these young married couples were being treated poorly. So I started a young married couples ministry while I was in some of the churches that we belonged. I started a business ministry in different churches that I was affiliated with. They all knew what I thought, right? Yeah, I know. I'm thinking about the old school song too. So that's what's throwing me off with Be Nice. So we had a respect for each other's spiritual belief. I respected hers and she respected mine. She didn't engage in my research. She would some questions she would ask. When she did ask me questions about her own, I never said. I would give her the meanings, the little deeper meanings of it, but I never took it away from her. I never took it away from her. I let her have it. So, um, like if I was explaining, I don't know, the story of the talents. Oh, Devin. I would explain the story of the talents, and I would just break it down for how it's understood for her religion. But I would give her just a little bit of depth to it, more so than what the preachers were teaching about it. Like that story of the talents, nobody really focused on the fact that the one who was lazy and slothful with the funding, what was given to him was taken and given to the one who made the most, who had less fear. And it was the fact that they didn't fear the master, fear the repercussions, fear losing the money, that they walked without fear is why they made the most money with theirs. And then the master gave the money to the one who walked with the less fear, which is telling you that you have to walk without fear in your life. That no matter what's going on in your life, what happens, you have to walk without fear. Now for me, I take that even farther with the unblocking of your foundation chakra is to release fear. That fear doesn't exist until we create fear. So I would break it down just a little bit more like that to her. Religion is not what broke up our marriage at all. It had nothing to do with it. One got married way too young and just intimately grew differently. But religion didn't. And there was some outside interference from certain people that I would leave unnamed, but there was some outside interference to people who, get in your ear. So, but religion didn't. Now, and what's interesting is that she is pretty much kind of coming out of religion now. I mean, I know through my kids that is what's going on. But anyhow, coffee getting cold. When a person is very dogmatic and they don't respect what you believe, but first you need to give respect. I don't know if you're in the house dogging her out, dogging out her religion, telling her that she's, that she's foolish, that she's worshiping the white man's God, that she's brainwashed. If you're coming at her offensively, she's going to be defensive. Just the same if she's coming at you offensively, you're going to be defensive. So you have to call a timeout on the field and pledge to each other that you're just going to stop being offensive to each other and try to start coming into an understanding that you're both going in the similar direction. Questions like what I was saying earlier. If baby, if Jesus is keeping you from going out there and cheating on me, from having affairs, from being disloyal, from stealing from the family, if it's keeping you from, doing all those things, baby, I want you to keep your Jesus, because your Jesus is making you, a beautiful woman that we are able to have fun and go do things with. But and she needs to understand that if whatever process you're in, if that's what's keeping you from that, dating her and loving her and giving her all those things, because trust me, a person in a relationship, if all it was just your religious belief being the same, then people wouldn't be getting divorced who are all the same religion. They're getting divorced at a higher clip than people who are non-religious. So focus on the things that keep y'all together, and then try to come to a mutual understanding of where you are. Now, if she starts to ask questions about what you're doing, only give her the answers to what she asks. Don't try to I've been guilty of overloading a person like a big dog, right? Okay, she asked you to pray to Jesus and discover if and here's the thing, bro. I hate to tell you this part. It may not work. Y'all may have to get divorced. That's a possibility within all of this. I'm not advocating it, but it may be a possibility. If and sometimes it's just me. Don't do what I do. I would ask the question: Is this so huge to you that we need not be together? Because the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, when you're on your deathbed and she's on her deathbed, she can be on her deathbed, and well, you can be on your deathbed, and all the praying in the world that she could do for you about Jesus is not going to get you into her version of heaven. She should know that. She should know that she cannot pray you into heaven. She cannot have faith for you into heaven, her version. So, and you cannot meditate her into samadhi, nirvana, the higher levels of consciousness. You can't. These are all individual journeys, and that's what creates intolerance when we force our journey to be somebody else's. If she can understand that at the end of the day, it is all within yourself anyway, that, and according to her belief, no one in heaven is married anyhow. I think that's in Corinthians, where it says that in heaven no one is given to marriage. It may not be Corinthians, but I don't know. It's somewhere in there. It's been a long time since I read that part. But they was asking Jesus, this lady been married to 7 different brothers. Who is she married to in heaven? And he was like, in heaven, nobody's given to marriage. So if she understands that in heaven, you guys are not married, even though that used to be a doctrine that was taught that people go to heaven in marriage, and they're married. That's the Mormon teaching. But you're not, according to her teaching. She can't get you into heaven, according to her teaching. So can y'all exist on earth right now in the matter plane, and every other thing about your marriage that makes y'all great, can y'all focus on that? If she can't do it, if you can't do it, call it a day. Sooner the better. It sounds harsh. It sounds like, oh damn. But you know what? For other reasons than religion, I stayed married for 5 years longer than I should have. Right? And in my second marriage, the moment that everything flipped, and she said, not when she said, I thought I was going to be a different way when I got married, and I realized I'm not. Not when she said that 4 years later. No. When 3 months in, she said, let's forget about everything we knew about each other when we were dating, and let's start over and learn each other now. I should have been out right then. I actually wrote in my journal back then, that's BS and I need to get out of this. But I didn't do it. I wasted 3 more years. Well, 4 years. 4 more years, and then 1 whole year and a half of going through the divorce process. Time wasted. So you've been in 20 years. Y'all might have kids. I don't know. I don't know your whole situation. But what I am going to tell you is that if you can't solve that issue, if it's always going to be is fighting and discontent, it's going to solve itself in about 5-10 years anyway. And then you're going to look back and be like, damn, I should have did this 5-10 years ago, because my life could have been so much. I could have went through a year, maybe 2 years of the stress of going through a divorce process. But shit, I would have gained 5-7 years of peace in my life. So if y'all can't resolve that process, go get some help though. Non-Christian, whatever. Go get religious help. Go get some help with it. Find out if you guys can exist, enjoy happiness, regardless of your religious difference. If you can't, move on. Move on. That sounds harsh, mean. Anybody get mad at me for that one? Get over yourself. I don't care. Your judgment on me doesn't bother me at all. But it's not worth it. You're only going to be here. I don't know how old you are. You're only going to be here for like 120, 150 years of your life, maybe shorter. So why waste any of it? You might as well enjoy this level of understanding while you can. And dealing with someone who is intolerant towards your spiritual beliefs, why bother? Why bother? I'm going to tell you guys another little thing. So a young lady that I've known for a very long time, since I'm single now, I'm not dating anyway, we had discussed some time ago, like years ago, we had discussed dating, and when I was single, and we knew that our spiritual differences wouldn't really allow us to date. And we had a conversation about a month ago. We were just talking. We weren't trying to date each other, nothing like that. She was really trying to just understand my thought process, right? And just in having that conversation again, we realized that there's no way that we could, it's just not something that could work out, because a level of respect for each other's beliefs just wasn't there. So it's like, why bother? Why even bother? We didn't bother 2 years, well, 2 years ago, when I first became single 2 years ago. So why bother? So there's no point in bothering now either, because it's just not going to work. You got 2 kids, one 18, one 22. Okay, so your kids are grown, man, and you're 40. And I don't know what kind of health condition you're in. I don't know what kind of life you live. But if you're 40 years old, you're not even at the halfway mark yet. So, man, you need to solve this. I would get this solved within the next 6 months as to what plan of attack we're headed towards. Because there is absolutely no way, no reason for you to be 60 and then all of a sudden at 60 you're going to talk about, well, we just can't do this no more. All right? So there's no reason. In my opinion, he needs to continue his journey, showing her how powerful it is to meditate and be religiously free. No argument. And I agree with Riri. I would do that. That's my approach. Okay, so as I was telling you guys about me and my kid's mother, that's what I would do. She wasn't meditating with me over those 17 years. Matter of fact, I can't think of one time that she meditated with me over those 17 years. If she asked me questions here and there, she knew I knew the Bible like the back of my hand, so she knew she could ask me, and she knew I respected her stuff enough that I would not try to like change her mindset. But she knew, and we didn't have YouTube back then. If we had YouTube back then, I don't know how things would have worked out. It would have been a little bit different, because she would have probably been checking out some of the videos and all that stuff. But it is, as we had children, my kids meditated with me. My kids then would go home, and my daughter Simone was in all these, she's been in AP courses since 8th grade. She's now in college, and it was very stressful. I taught her how to meditate to relieve stress. She taught her mother how to meditate to relieve stress. She started meditating to relieve stress. My son, my oldest daughter, they all meditate to relieve stress or just to find peace, and they just meditate because they were learning it with their dad, right? So she picked it up through the kids. She also would see how my life, I would tell you guys, if I had a camera on me all the time, if I was a reality show, people would be like, because my friends used to ask me this all the time, dude, how do you keep landing on your feet? When all hell breaks loose in your life, you keep landing on your feet. How do you do this? Like, things just seem to gravitate towards you to make sure life just goes the way you want it. And I told them all the time, I meditate and I focus on my life following the movie in my head, right? And because I get to the point of that where I have no doubt about it, my life has a tendency to follow the movie in my head. The mistakes come when I stop following the principles that I know will get me to the destination. It is not the meditation, it's me. It's me. It's me giving into this thought. It's me giving into the emotions of other people and trying to make other people happy, you know, regardless of the damage it does to myself. Those are the things that have thrown me off. But anytime that I am selfishly focused on getting to the movie in my head, life seems to work great for me. And idiotically, I know that those around me, life works out better for them as well. But sometimes my thought emotion, heart emotion, and yes, sex emotion messes things up, and I'll make a mistake, and then you got to go through the process of paying for that mistake and recovering from that mistake. So, but they always ask, but when I do go back to the thought of meditation and getting everything squared away, life just seems to land for me. Life, my gravity well just draws it in. I mean, I told you guys on a video, if you watched it on my other channel, on the Coach Rins channel, for finances, there's a financial goal that I have for 3 years from now. But because I focused a lot of my energy on it accelerating, someone came into my life the other day who can make it happen, who specializes in making it happen in half that time. Half that time. All right. So just, I agree with Riri. Just keep doing you. But in doing you, don't waste a whole lifetime doing you, hoping that she realizes it. My kid's mother is coming out of that hardcore religious mindset into a more free-flowing universal mindset. It's happening through my children. It's happening through her realizing that she's been vibrating in a way that's been attracting the wrong things into her life. So it's on her. That's the thing. She will not watch anything on YouTube. She says the devil hit you in all the streams, the author of confusion. Don't worry about what she say. And like I said, if she's gonna be, do y'all still date? Y'all still go out and have fun? Y'all go to dinner and enjoy each other's company? Do y'all still go to events? Do y'all still date? Answer me that. Or is life a contention? Is life just filled with, is your life the Spanish Inquisition? Is it the Salem witch hunts? Like, that's the religious intolerance that was occurring, that has created so much hell on earth. That the kingdom of hell reigns across earth. Because if you look at all the books, it'll tell you that the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of hell are here on earth. It is all the perspective that you have that makes your heaven and hell, but it is also the group mind. If the group mind has a negative charge, then the world would have a negative charge. This is how depression, like the Great Depression, financial depression, happened because the world was in a negative charge. The World War I and II, the world got into a negative charge. Anytime that there is a mass thing like that, it's the world being in a negative charge. We're about to have another financial turn down because we're falling again for these subprime loans. Oh my God, they're called non-primes, but we're falling again for these subprime loans, and we're going to see the economy go bust again in about 5 to 7 years. Y'all better get ready. Better get ready for it. And that doesn't mean going into fear, because fear is the negative charge thing. But are y'all dating? I need to know that. Come on. It don't take you that long to say yes or no. Are y'all dating? Come on, be nice. Are y'all dating? You got the stage, brother. I need to know. Come on now. Are you dating? Yes or no? I need to know. Or is life a battle? Is life fighting? Good morning. Tiffany Stars. You are so late, young lady. But welcome. Good morning. I'm already over my hour. Oh yeah, I'm way over my hour. And after we get through this part, we're gonna get ready to shut this down. Tiffany Star said, "I like to be dating." This is a different conversation. This is really about religious intolerance and how do we get past the religious intolerance. There's a young man on the YouTube who I'm asking him, is he still dating his wife, because there are different religious beliefs. But you'll be all right. We're going to talk on my relationship channel. I'm definitely going to do some videos about dating. Shondell, that is scary for me. I was recently fired and have been out of work for a month. Shondell, we got to talk, bro. You didn't tell me. I didn't know that. Because, yeah, we got to talk. I might have somebody I can connect you with. I don't know if they're in Texas. They're not in Texas, but maybe there's something that can be done. Renz, if they discuss the religion thing every day, or even every time they have a disagreement, it reverts into religion. That is trouble. They need help and decide if they can exist. That's true. Just got a new job at Saturday. Okay, so you are working. If you're saying another depression is coming, I think I need to be prepared. Another depression is coming. But during a depression is when people make the most money. But you got to be ready for it. It's only like those who are just in the mass of mind don't. Yes, date, work out together, good relationship. Her dad's pastor, his dad's pastor in the family, and she's a pastor's daughter. Okay, so y'all are dating. So what Riri was saying, that if y'all were always in contention, then yes, that's a big problem. Y'all need a lot of help. But if y'all are still dating, still have a good relationship, still having fun, enjoying each other, then y'all got some hope. There's hope. There's some hope in there. There's some hope that y'all can satisfy y'all religious differences by having a mutual level of respect for each other. Yeah, you missed a lot, Tiffany, but it's okay. Tiffany, join my Facebook page, my YouTube page for relationships, and that's where I'm gonna do live. I'm gonna start doing lives about relationship and finances over there on that one. Go to my YouTube page, Lorenzo Reed, YouTube/Lorenzo Reed, and there's a link for that one in there. And we're gonna start doing lives for those. I'm gonna set a schedule. So yes, y'all got a good relationship. That's good. So y'all got a good relationship. So your religious differences, although a problem can, and there's still an opportunity for hope of saving them. Now, your counselor cannot be her dad. Plain and simple, hell to the no. Your counselor can't be her dad. If your counselor is her dad, it's a lost cause, brother. I'm sorry to tell you, it's a lost cause because you're wrong, period. There's nothing you can do, nothing you can say that's ever going to be right. You're going to be wrong, and the only way to fix it is for you to come to Jesus, and that's it. So everything that you say and do will be of the devil. So y'all need a neutral counselor who is not utilizing their religion as the barometer for their counseling. That's not the standard for their counseling. Somebody who can look deep into just your relationship and finding an ability for y'all to coexist, respecting one another's relationship, respecting one another's belief system. Do you go to church with her? Because for some people, if you go to church with her, that would be a problem as well. Because as it was expressed to me once before, when I was married to my second wife, every time I would sit in church, I was just sitting there with her. I wasn't making faces. I wasn't grumbling, making noise. I wasn't rushing her out. Matter of fact, she used to be like, dude, you ready to go home? Because I was just conversing with people. So, but as soon as we get in the car, as soon as we get home, so what did the pastor say wrong? Or what did you disagree with? And all this kind of stuff. It's like, whoa, didn't you enjoy the message? Aren't you like taking that in and like letting that work with you? Why are you asking me because you really want to know, or are you asking me because you want to argue? Like, where is all this coming from? That was a problem. So I stopped going. After a while, I just stopped going because she couldn't enjoy it. She couldn't enjoy church with me being there, right? So she couldn't enjoy it because I was there. So I stopped going. So maybe you need to stop going if you are going to shut down some of the arguing. But y'all definitely need counseling. How can you have? Oh, just my Facebook page is Lorenzo Dwayne Reed or Coach Renz. You probably want to go to my Coach Renz. That coffee real cold, but it still tastes good. So let's summarize. Because my store opens at 12:30, and the Falcons start playing at 1. And even though I can't see it, I just want to know that. I just want to see what ESPN the score is going. So, in summary, religious intolerance began because a group of people who had been consistently oppressed and was claiming that their God was oppressing them because of their disbelief or their misbehavior and freeing them from their captivities, developed a sense of their God is the only God that's the right God. In combination with a power, Rome, coming in and saying that we respect your God, but you gonna put our God in your temple, and we don't give two flying. We don't respect you enough. We respect you, but we don't respect the fact that your religion says no statues, no graven images can be placed in there, and you guys can't bow down to Caesar, annually. We're not going to respect that as the Roman government. The intolerance came into bigger play when Constantine, who was saying that Jesus and Sol Invictus were the same, were similar. But then in the Council of Nicaea, when he said that, hey, the Gnostics, we're not going to respect you, you're heretics, you're heresy, and Arius and all you followers, we're going to exile you guys because you're heresy. And the idea of heresy came into play. And because of heresy and heretics and Christianity becoming a state-funded religion, a state-empowered religion, people began to be murdered on high scale. Slavery and conquering through religious reasons started to happen. And because of all that, the world fell into a state of intolerance where it used to be a tolerant world when it came to religion. The only way for us to get back to that is to recognize that we all find the Creator on our own. And if someone is atheist, then that's fine for them to be that as well. They find science. But however you discover the Creator on your own, stand on the mountain, be the only one who you need to believe that. Don't need anyone else to believe what you believe in order for you to believe it. Believe it solidly on your own. And if you do that, you won't force other people to, you won't be so focused on other people not believing what you believe. And then you can actually focus on the message of your belief, which overwhelmingly is love, self-love, and the love of everything in creation. you'll be able to step back and see the different pieces of the puzzle to everything in creation and not walk around in a distortion field. When you're doing that, race won't matter. Nationalities don't matter. A person's belief in getting to the Creator, how they get there, their pathway, won't matter. We'll all just be different pieces of the puzzle, creating the same picture. So when we come to that understanding, when we come to that higher understanding, that higher realm, then we can go back to having tolerance for one another. And when we have tolerance, we truly can fall in love with one another. And then that's how we solve many of our issues on this planet. That's how we solve our warring issues, our economic issues, our homeless issues, our police brutality issues. We solve all those things by first recognizing our inner divinities and being solid in that. Developing tolerance for one another and seeing people as their own individual pattern, not trying to fit them into our patterns. So I hope that this has been helpful. I know D Nice got some personalized counseling in there in his story. See, don't sit in the church with a side face, because you're every time she sees that, she's gonna know that there's a problem. That's gonna start an argument. Look, I can't have argument in my house. So, what Titus said in his annuals when he was conquering Jerusalem, that he would let them fight inside the temple, inside Jerusalem. He let them fight because a house divided will fall. You guys seen that somewhere else too, right? Yeah, a house divided will fall. So, and many people take that as the yoke, you know, equally yoked and that sort of thing, and that could be. But if a house divided will fall, then a world divided will fall. But a house doesn't have to be divided based on religious belief. We choose that. It's a choice. If she chooses it, it's her choice. If you choose it, it's your choice. But at the end of the day, you have to choose to love yourself more than you love the situation, more than you love what society will say or think. You have to stand on your own mountain and be solid within yourself. So with that being said, as I always say, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. And for everybody who is here, I appreciate you. Please go ahead and continue to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I appreciate that. To both of them, you'll find the links in this video there. Facebook group. This is a private group message that goes every Sunday, and I'll be doing this every Sunday at 10:30 is the normal time that we're supposed to start. And I appreciate everybody for being here, all the comments, everything. But please continue to comment on the video. I'll still come back and look at them. And on YouTube, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Y'all have a great day. Now we're going to end these. I'm pressing buttons. I know. I should have hit this button. Thank you. I appreciate you guys too. I appreciate all you guys. Y'all are great. Y'all are awesome.